Okay guys, so for our first problem dito sa topic na friction, so basahin natin. So a 200-pound block is in contact with a plane inclined at 30 degrees to the horizontal. A force P parallel to and acting up the plane. So ang sinabi dyan, you have there a force P. So gawin ko lang, i-locate lang natin yung centroid nito. Ayan. So dito daw meron kang force P which is acting along the plane and parallel doon. So acting up the plane. So ibig sabihin, we have here a force P. Ayan. Which is acting up the plane or pataas sa plane and then parallel dun sa surface na pinagpapatungan which is an inclined at 30 degrees. And if the coefficient of static friction, so static friction given yung kanyang mu sub s as 0.2. So for A, find the value of P to just cause motion to impend up the plane. So ano daw yung value ng P na kailangan para yung block mo will impend up the plane. So ang movement niya is yung almost na papunta siya sa taas, almost before siya gumalaw, up the plane. And for letter B, find P to just prevent the motion down the plane. So pababa naman yung for case letter B. And if P is equals to 80 pound, determine the magnitude of and direction of the frictional force. Okay, so let's start first solving for letter A. So ang mangyayari dyan, ang ating motion or actually, wala pa siyang motion kasi static friction. But sinabi doon sa letter A, so ang kanyang case dito is up the plane or yung moment before siya umakyat doon sa plane. Ano yung maximum value ng P para mangyari yun? Okay? So, pataas or yung pataas yung pwedeng maging movement niya. Therefore, yung iyong frictional force will be directed saan? Okay, so ang pataas yan, again, ang friction mo is always opposite the direction of the motion. So that will be your F sub F. And since yung block mo is weighing 200 pound, ito, diba 200 pound yan? And if this is 30 degrees, therefore ito, 30 degrees din. Okay? So with that, we need to solve for the value of its normal force. Ano ba yung value ng N na yan? Okay? So, let's determine first the value of your normal force or the normal pressure exerted by the block on the inclined surface. So, to solve for N, ang gawin natin, ito yung gagawin kong x-axis and ito will be your y-axis. So, to solve for N, we just need to take summation of forces ng y, assuming in this direction as positive. So, equals to 0. So, N, so minus, so transpose ko sa kabila to make it in positive. So, 200 cosine 30 degrees. Or N is equals lang sa... Okay, so 200 cosine of 30, so that is 170.2051 pound. Okay, so if N is 170.2051, now we can solve for the value of the frictional force or the frictional resistance. Again, fun, mu N. So static. And with that, multiply mo ng 0.2 yung N to find the frictional force F sub F. So that is 34.6410 pound. Okay, so I think masosolve na natin yung pinapahanap for this problem. Okay, so ano equation yung gagamitin natin? Okay, so isa na lang naman yung natitira. So by taking summation of forces ng x, assuming in this direction as positive, so the equation will be P And then, kunin mo yung x component nito. So that will be minus. So transpose ko na lang sa kabila to make it positive. Minus 200 sine of 30. And then aside from that, so ito, so minus din dito sa side na to. And then kapag nilipat mo sa kabila, that will be positive. Plus f sub f or 34.6410. So the value of your p, so add mo lang dito, is equals to 134.6410 pound. So ito yung kakailanganin mong force P before ka magkaroon ng upward motion. So ito kapag lumampas ka ng, for example, 134.65. So ito is gagalaw na siya pataas. Okay? So let's proceed with letter B. Ano bang sunod nating pinapahanap for letter B? So for letter B, so find the P to just prevent the motion down the plane. So mangyayari lang dito guys, ang mapapalitan lang dito kasi is itong direction ng frictional force. Kasi ang movement mo is, ang tendency niya is yung pababa. So dapat, if yun yung magiging motion niya, so yung frictional force mo, the frictional resistance, ang mangyayari lang, dapat maging pataas siya. Okay? So I will just use the same diagram. So frictional force or resistance, so this is for letter B. Para hindi malito. Okay? And then the rest of the force, yun lang din naman yung gagamitin mo. Okay? So meron na tayong N. Meron ka ng frictional resistance na 34.64. So mangyayari lang guys ay same equation. So ganun lang. So since meron na nga ulit tayo ng mga to, mag-summation na tayo ng forces X. Assuming in this direction as positive, take summation of forces X equals to 0. So parang nangyari lang pala dito na baliktad lang ng patas yung iyong equation. Instead na ito magiging positive. So since pareho siya ng direction ni P, pag nilipat mo sa kabila, ito magiging minus lang. Or para mas maunawaan, so that will be P. So 200 sine 30. Ito natin. Yung x component nito, ayan, so that is 200 sine 30. And then yung y component niya, ito, so this is 200 cosine 30. Okay? So 200 sine 30, so since pareho siya ng direction nito, so nung lipat ko sa kabila, so that will be minus 34.6410. So therefore, the value of P is 200 sine 30 minus 34.6410. Okay, so the answer is 65.359 pound. Okay. Last will be for letter C. So ang tanong dito ngayon, guys, if P is equals to 80 pound, determine the magnitude and direction of the frictional force. Okay, so ito yung pagkakaunawa ko dito. So, kaya siguro pinahanap yung value ng A and B is para malaman natin yung direction ni C. Kasi anong mapapansin nyo dito guys, ito kasi is 80 pound. Ibig sabihin, siya is in between itong dalawang valueng to. Okay? So, ang tanong, if ito is less than this value, bawa 64. Okay? So, pasaan yung magiging direction ng frictional force? Ikat mo yun, friends. Ikat mo. And guys, for letter C, if P is equals to 80 pound, determine the magnitude and direction of the friction force. So, ang pinapahanap dito is yung F sub F. I know. But, we don't know if pasaan yung magiging direction niya. Okay, so to know the direction, so since ang pinapahanap nga lang sa inyo for letter C is yung F sub F, okay, so i-analyze mo yung mga given na with same direction with the F sub F or the frictional resistance. So you have here a force P, which is given as 80 pound for the case letter C. And ito, yung X component is 200 pound. So itong 200 sine 30, so that is equivalent lang sa 100 pound. Okay guys, so what should be the direction of the frictional resistance in order to make this condition in equilibrium? Okay? So kung ito 80, which is going in that direction, and ito is 100, which is going down the plane. So, pasaan dapat yung frictional resistance? Diba same as for case letter B, which is going upward. So, ibig sabihin yung block mo pala, if 80 pound lang yung given na force sa'yo, is ang movement niya or yung tendency to move niya is pababa doon sa iyong inclined plane. Okay? So, take summation of forces ng X going in this direction as positive. So, ang hinahanap nga is the frictional force or the frictional resistance. So, that will be equals lang sa 100 minus the force P, which is 80, or equals to 20 pound. Okay, so yun lang naman yung hinahanap for letter B, or letter C. Okay, so again, yung ano niya, movement niya, so tendency niya is pababa doon sa iyo inclined surface. Okay? Okay, so let's proceed with the next problem. Okay, so for our next problem, 200 pound block is at rest on a 30 degrees incline. So parang yung problem lang kanina, ano? The coefficient of friction is 0.2 and compute the value of the horizontal force P that will cause the motion to impend up the incline. Okay? So nagkaroon lang ng kaunting changes dito sa problem na to. So again, drawing lang natin yung X and Y and ilocate natin yung pinaka-centroid ng block. Okay, so there, ang sabi, we have a 200 pound block. Ayan. So you have here 200. And again, if this is 30, therefore this is also equals 30 degrees. And from there, meron kang X and Y component. So pakita na lang din natin. This is my Y and this is my X. So this is 200 sine of 30 and itong Y component niya is 200 cosine 30. Okay, so anong nangyari lang dito guys is instead na acting along the inclined yung force P, meron ka kasing horizontal force. Ayan. So if this is your P, therefore ito, kung ito 30 degrees, ito equals lang din sa 30 degrees. And the rest, pareho lang din naman. So, dito meron kang normal force o the normal pressure exerted by the block. So, that is N. And sabi, compute the horizontal force P that will cause the motion impend up the incline. So, ang magiging galaw niya is papunta sa taas. So, therefore, to prevent that, again, yung frictional force mo, resistance is always opposite the direction of the motion or yung tendency na gumalaw siya. Okay, so dito ipakita ko sa inyo yung dalawang way na pwede nyo isolve ito. Maraming ways para atakihin yung problem na to. So again, this is just application of equilibrium of force system. So the first one, or the first method na ipapakita ko sa inyo is using the equilibrium equation. Summation of forces X and forces Y. So, parang yung kanina lang din. So, hanapin natin yung value ng N from where yung N mo is equals lang sa force exerted by the surface. Yung iyo palang ito. Actually, but as you can see here, unlike this sa first problem natin, yung P mo kasi will have some effect do sa normal force. Again, so this time, kailangan natin i-consider din yung Y component nito. Okay? So, yung ibig ko sabihin dito guys is, kapag nag-summation ng forces ng Y in this direction, so the equation will be N and then pasaan yung kanyang Y component. So, pag ganito din. So, equals to 200 cosine 30 and then plus, so since transpose ko sa kabila, kasi ito guys ay ganito. So by component, di ba ito paganto din? So ano ba yan? So P sine 30 And meron siyang pa ganito, yung x component niya, which is p cosine 30. Okay, so because of that, so ito ay magiging p sine 30. Okay, so since we have now the n, so again, frictional resistance is equals to mu times n, or given naman yung coefficient of friction na 0.2 multiply by n. So, copy mo lang to. 200 cosine 30 plus p sine 30. Okay, so with that, magsasummation naman tayo ng forces x. Okay? So, ano ba yung ating ano? Assuming in this direction as positive, take summation of forces x equals to 0. So we have here p cosine 30. And then, eto, yung x component ng 200. So, lipat ko na sa kabila. So, 200 sine 30. And then, frictional resistance. So, nilipat ko sa kabila. So, positive din. 0.2 is 200 cosine 30 plus p sine 30. Okay, so simplify muna natin to. So cosine 30 and then transpose sa kabila, negative. So 0.2 times sine 30. So sinubtract ko yun. So meron kang 0.7660 p. And then 200 sine 30 plus 0.2 times 200 cosine 30. So 134.6410 pound. And then divide mo lang ng 0.766 to find the answer of your T. So the answer for the force P is 175.7716 pound. Okay, so this is one way of solving this. Yung second method, pakita ko lang dito. So, gawin natin, dito kasi those solvable naman siya gamit itong 2 equation to ano. Ang gawin natin, di ba sabi doon sa discussion natin, yung n at saka yung f sub f mo is just the x and y component of the resultant r. Again, coming always from the n or the normal force, ito kasi, meron kang angle of inclination which is equals dun sa phi. Okay? O the angle of friction. So this is your R. Again, yung phi mo, that can be computed using the coefficient of friction. Okay? So di ba yung tangent phi is equals lang sa mu, 0.2. Or yung phi mo is just equals to arc tangent ng 0.2. So phi is equals to 11.30993 degrees. Okay. Okay, so if this is in angle phi, ngayon kapag ito kasi, ayan. So di ba ito is 30 degrees din. Ano? Okay, so considering this okay. So considering these forces, ito, again, you have here 200 pound. Ito, you have here a force P. So kapag gumawa ka ng diagram na ganyan, lagay ko na lang dito, the force diagram. So di ba meron kang 200? Then here, you have here a force P. And ito, you have here your R. Okay, so that is equals lang sa, ano nga ito? So 30, so plus 11, so that is 41 0.3099 degrees. Okay, so na-gets kung paano nakuha yun. Again, that is 30 plus 11 lang, 0.3099. Okay. So, using this, ang pwede natin gawin dito is mag-ano tayo, sine law. Ano? So, paano ba natin siya gagawin? So, try natin yung sine law, ha. No naman yung mga angle, ito ay 90. And then ito, 90 minus 41.3099. So, this is 48.6901. Okay, so 200. So, by sine law, so 200 over sine of 48.8901 is equals to P over sine of 41.3099. So P is equals lang sa 200 sine 41.3099 divided by sine 48.8. Sorry, this is 6. Sorry. Pangit kasi sa ulat ko. 6. Okay, so 200 sine of 41.3099 divided by sine of 48.6901. Okay, so pareho lang din. May kaunti lang discrepancy siguro sa rounding off ito. But same lang din ang lalabas. Ano? So kaya ako nagkamaling decimal dito. Anyway, so check nyo na lang kung saan tayo nagkamaling putol o saan tayo decimal. Magkaroon kasi ng counting discrepancy dito. But anyway, pareho lang din siya. Okay? So ayan guys, so depende sa inyo kung ano yung gusto nyong gawin, kung paanong way ba ang gusto nyong gamitin para ma-solve yung mga unknowns. Okay? So let's proceed with the next problem. Okay, so next problem. What weight W is necessary to start the system of blocks shown in the figure, which will move to the right? So, papaganon sila gagalaw. The coefficient of friction is 0.1 and the pulleys are assumed to be frictionless. Okay, so frictionless yung mga pulleys natin. Anyway, meron rin naman tayong itatakal na topic dito kung saan i-consider natin yung friction sa mga pulleys. But anyway, since sinabi sa problem na frictionless yung pulleys, so hindi na natin siya kailangan problemahin. Okay. So, pinapanganap yung W o yung weight ng block na to, which is necessary to start the system of blocks going to the right. Okay? So, ito, pwede ka namang i-analyze mo siya from this block papunta doon or from this block papunta dito sa W. Anyway, either of the two naman, pareho lang naman siya ng lalabas na sagot. So, para ma-practice din kayo, i-try nyo siyang i-solve using the two method or two-way of solving it. Pero ako, ang gagawin ko na lang, from this block papunta doon, para lahat may value na. Kasi ang mangyayari dito, kapag ito yung inuna mo, lahat ng value na mako-compute mo for the tension in the cable is in terms of W. Ano? So, gawin natin from here up to this block. Okay, so una nating i-analyze ito. So, I will say this is free body diagram 1, then free body diagram 2, and then free body diagram 3. But first, let's analyze the tension in each cable. So, balik na rin ko lang. So, ito, I will name this as my tension T1. Okay, on the tension in the cable 1. So, since this is frictionless, ibig sabihin, yung tension dito is just the same as for the tension in this cable. Okay? Next, ito, I will name this as my P2 or the tension in the cable 2. So, magkaiba na yan, since meron a 400 pound na i-consider. And then, since this is frictionless, if this is tension 2, then for this is also equivalent to T2. Okay? So next will be the free body diagram of each block. So let's start with this. Ayan. So meron ka rin dito. Siguro na-imagine na yung mangyayari. So yung mga nakapatong dun sa surface, you will consider this coefficient of friction. Meron siyang normal pressure exerted by the block on the floor, etc. So ito, we have here a 600 pound weight which is directed downward. So 600 pound. And here, you have a normal force. So pangalanan lang siya as N1. And then, since yung block mo are papunta sa kanan, therefore, the frictional resistance is going to the left. So next block will be for this one. So ayan, so meron kang, hindi ko pala nasulat yung angle nito. So this is equals 30 degrees. So if that is 30 degrees, 400 pound. So ito is also equals to 30 degrees. And then next, you have here a normal force designated by N sub 2 na lang. And then the frictional resistance or the frictional force, let's just say that is equals to F sub 2. Okay, so let's start. So I will analyze first this free body diagram 1. Then followed by free body diagram 2, or the block on the inclined, and this suspended block, FBD 3. So again, ang hinahanap is yung weight ng block para mag-start yung iyong system, gumalaw papunta sa kanan. So considering FBD 1, okay, so gawa ka lang X and Y plane, and then nilatag mo lahat ng mga known forces. So meron kang 600 pound pababa. So normal force, N1. So by titig method, alam natin na yung N1 mo is equals lang sa 600 pound. And then if N sub 1 is 600 pound, therefore yung F sub 1 mo is equals to mu times N, from where yung coefficient of friction 0.1. So times mo lang ito ng 0.1, or that is 60. Okay, so 60 pound. Okay, so therefore yung T1 mo, so tinititigan na lang natin na hindi na tayo nagsasummation of forces X, summation of forces Y. Ganun lang din naman yun. So kung ito'y pakaliwa, ito'y pakanan, therefore this is also equals to 60 pound. Since itong dalawa lang naman na to ang X forces. Okay, so this time we will now consider FBD2. Okay ha, ganun lang ha. Ano ko na lang din. Summation of forces Y and summation of forces X. Malalanap mo yung mga unknown values. But ito, through analysis alone, by titig method, ito yung mga lumabas na value. So, sanayin nyo na rin na nagtititig method. Okay? Next, so, let's draw the inclined axis. So, this will be our Y, and this is my new x-axis. So, meron ka ditong 400 pound. It's directed downward, so this is 30 degrees. And then the tension in this cable is designated as T1, which is 60 pound. So ang unknown dito is yung T2 natin. But since cable yan, always in tension, so that is unknown. And then, aside from that, N2. Ito is pwedeng titig method lang din. And then, pero tatlong horizontal force yung consider, so gamitin natin ang equation. So itong normal force na to, sige, pakita natin, N2. So to solve for N2, so take summation of forces ng Y, this direction as positive. So N2, so minus, so transpose sa kabila to make it in positive, equals to 400 cosine 30. Therefore, F sub 2 is equals to times 0.1. So that is 34.6410 pound. And then, by taking summation of forces at x is to 0, so i-add mo lang lahat niyan since yung x component niya ay lahat papunta in this direction. So T2 lang yung papunta doon. So T2 is just equals to 60 plus 400 sine 30 and then plus f sub 2 or 34.6410. Therefore, your T2 is equals to plus 400 sine 30 and plus 60. So that is 294.6410. Okay, so last will be considering at BD3. So kita na agad dito, yung tension to mo is equals to W. Diba yung weight mo is always directed downward. So ito, T2 mo is pataas. Is equals to 294.6410. So when you take summation of forces ng Y, considering the FBD3, your W is equals lang sa T2 or equals to 294.6410. Okay, so this is the answer for this problem. So let's proceed with the next problem.